place to another to get water on the crops, and he had built the water lines with PVC pipe and was pumping with a little tiny 5 horsepower Briggs and Stratton little pump out of the pond down there at the bottom. And everybody said he couldn't do it. It wouldn't work. And when it worked, drove into Spokane to the pump house to talk to his friend, the owner there, and said, I did it. And then the owner didn't believe him, and he drove all the way out here to see what Gary did. That's how unusual things were when they started here at the farm. I have so many amazing memories here. I was shocked when Cody told me that they're going to plant some more clary sage. The deer love clary sage. And clary sage was over in this field, and lavender was over on this hill. And we flew up in the evening, and we were driving up the hill here, and as we came up over the car lights, hit the clary sage field, and there were probably 100 pairs of eyes staring at us. And it's like they were frozen. And then they realized that nobody was going to do anything, and they went back to eating. Gary was so mad. And he drove around honking the horn and shooing them, and they first ran into the woods. And we came into the old house that was here. And then he went and looked out the window, and by darn, all the deer were back in the clary sage field. And they would eat it right to the ground. I said, I can't believe you're going to grow it up here. And he said, well, we're going to keep it fenced so they can't get to it. There's so many funny stories of how things happened up here. But Gary had such a vision of what it was going to be. I laugh when I think with the distillery we had one cooker, and he thought that was the beginning of something so great and glorious. He thought, man, this is going to be so fabulous. We're really in business now. We're really a big farm. Well, if you've been to any of the other farms, you know this is a really small farm. But it was the beginning. It's the beginning of what we have all over the world. How many have been to Ecuador? Ecuador is our biggest farm. And you know what? When you qualify as a platinum, Young Living will pay for you to go there. So get busy. It's very exciting, and it's very, very different from this farm. Is it? You were just in Ecuador. Different, am I right?
Yes.
Very different. Many people have asked me, how did Gary find this farm? When he planted lavender behind the building in Spokane, and when you drove here, you drove past the turnoff street that went to the old building. Just before you came down the hill, I don't know if you remember seeing the big Safeway store. Well, before he came down that hill, that was where the turnoff was to the old building. And the lavender grew so well, and he was so excited about the few drops that he got, that he knew that he had to find a farm. He had to do something bigger. And so he started driving around, and he drove north, he drove south, he drove east, he drove west. He drove all over, and he couldn't find anything that suited what he wanted. Well, he drove up what we call here the Benoit. This is the Benoit area. And there was this little sign nailed to a tree that said, for sale, with an arrow. That really perked his curiosity. So he drove up this little road that you just drove up. And he came out into this valley. And he was so excited, he said, this is what I've been looking for. And this farm had never had chemicals on it. It was used as grazing land for cattle during the summertime. And the rest of the time in the winter it was just dormant. There was never anything that was grown here. One of the big problems was that the terpenes from the trees are very acidic. And lavender doesn't grow well in an acid environment. I mean, you look, you see all these trees, they're full of terpenes and very acidic. But even though the trees had been taken out, the ground was still full of terpenes, and it was hard as a rock. He rented a big Dynadrive cultivator, and it took him about a month to cultivate just this area in here, because the ground was so hard it kept breaking the tines, the blades on the cultivator. And then he had to inject microbes, foliage feed, minerals, vitamins into the soil. It took him about 3 years to bring the pH of the soil up to about a 7, which is good for lavender, but it started at 4.5. That's very low pH, very acidic. Not many things grow well in an acidic environment. So he planted the lavender, and the lavender grew very well. The first lavender was right over there on that field that you see. At the bottom of the lavender, where it comes down kind of into not a ravine, but like a little sunken area, that's where he planted the lavender. Well, what happens when it rains and when the snow melts? All that water runs down the hill and stops at the bottom. I was standing with Gary when we walked over to look at it, and he said, I don't know what's wrong with this. And he started lifting it up, and he went, oh, it's moldy. All the peppermint went moldy. And he said, well, I guess we can't grow peppermint here, and we can't grow clary sage. We'll have to grow it in Utah. So that's what we did. And now Cody tells me they got a patch of peppermint that they're growing. But they have a problem. The deer like the peppermint. So he's going to have his own challenge, figuring out how he's going to outwit the deer, because we were not able to. We gave up. I mean, Gary brought a big propane tank that had a gun on it, that would shoot into the air and it would make a big boom noise. And the deer ran just the first time. But they knew Gary wasn't going to hurt them. They just knew that. And so they would come back and we just have at it. But there was reports that there were a couple of twin births with the deer eating the lavender. We never hear of that. Deer don't have twins. But a couple of the deer have twins. And we accredit clary sage to that. Do you ladies know what I'm talking about? Yeah. I'll tell you a little something about the old house. The old farmhouse sat right here in the middle of the grass underneath the tent. And so we had a tent over here, a tent over there, and a tent over there, and the house in the middle. It was not so great. The old house was really an old, dilapidated farmhouse. Just ask John Wenton all about it. He spent many, many, many days and nights up here with Gary. And he slept in the old house too. And his big thing is that
had a bad smell.
It had a bad smell. And I remember the first time I pulled the stairs. Some of the old houses, they had stairs that were on a spring that went up into the ceiling, and a rope that hung down, and you pulled on the rope and then the stairs would come down. So I pulled the stairs down and I went up into the attic, and I will never forget the mess. And I looked down and here was a rat. He was about that big. He was dead, but his mouth was down, his head was down into the books or the box or whatever it was, and his tail was sticking straight up.
Oh, yo.
And I thought, this has got to go. I can't stand this. So I came up another time with Joseph. I had decided that I was going to build a new house. I can remember Gary talking about wanting to remodel and extend, add on to this old farmhouse, and I kept thinking, oh, Gary, don't do that. This is so awful. No, we don't want to do that. So I decided I was going to bulldoze it down and build what you see behind me.
Oh.
But Joseph came up with me, and again, I pulled down the stairs, and I walked up and I said, okay, Joseph, this is what we're going to do. I'm going to hand you the box halfway. You take it down the rest of the way and throw it out the back door on the lawn. And that's what he did, because there were so many bugs. It was so awful. You didn't want to touch anything. But he was a good sport, and he'd throw everything out the back door on the lawn, right in this area, right here. And I cleaned out as much as I could. And then the farm crew came and cleaned out all this antiquated copy machines, computers, books, just lots of junk. And in the garage, we had set up beds for some of you lovely people who came to the farm. I remember we had 9 ladies from, I don't know, do you remember, John, what country it was? It was either Taiwan or Malaysia, and they all slept on those horrible old beds in the garage. It was hilarious, but they loved it. They were good sports. It's just, where are we going to put people? What are we going to do? So after I designed this, we had very tall trees. They were tall like these trees over here, but they were very close to this lodge. And one time we had a windstorm, and it blew over one of the trees and created $5,000 in damage in the roof.
Wow.
So I said, we're taking out all the trees. Now, if Gary had been here, he would have had a fit, because he couldn't bear to cut down the trees around the house. But I didn't want to have damage to my new cabin. So we cut all the trees out. We bulldozed the old house down, and I cheered. I was so happy to see it go. And they had taken the furniture and put it in storage. And then they started. But because of that, we all can sit together now under the big tent. We can be together. That's a lot more fun, wouldn't you say? I came up with Joe Walker, who is over all of our infrastructure worldwide. He's been with us for many years, and he's a dear friend to me. And actually, his son Jackson is wandering around here. He's one of our really smart IT guys, and we love him, and he laughs and jokes with us like his dad does too. But Joe said, I've got to go up and fix some of the wiring for the house. And I said, okay, well, that's a good reason for me to go. So we flew up together, and we drove up, and when we came around the corner and I saw this, I went, oh, that's not what I envisioned. I envisioned something half this size, small, a little cabin. But the walls were up, the roof was on. I couldn't stop progress. But you know how it's turned out? Now when people come up from Utah, when employees come, they have a place to stay. And everybody has a really nice bed to sleep in without the rats and the mice and the bugs. So they're really appreciative. And I'm very appreciative. I am grateful. John is grateful. So that's kind of the story of how this came about. But naturally, if we're going to work up here, we have to have a kitchen, right? We have to be able to cook. So this was where it all began, over here in the lodge. And I hope that you go inside and look at the pictures on the wall, because they are the pictures of the beginning of this farm. I took all of those pictures. That's why they're not the greatest. But they're really wonderful to see. So please go in and have a look. But the kitchen was just the first part, and it was a tent. It wasn't even really a tent. We had a tarp like this, a plastic tarp over the top. And I remember we were having lunch, and there were, well, I don't know, 10, 12 people up here who were helping in the harvest. And when the wind came up, we all jumped up and grabbed hold of the tarp because it was going to take the roof of the kitchen away. And then we had to do battle with the wasps and the bees and all the flying critters. So little bit by little bit, something was added on. So we added on more tarp. Then Gary added on a wall. Then he added on another wall. And then he decided we could put a roof on it. And then he decided, well, if I build a wall on the front part, we can cut the critters from coming in. We can keep the wasps and the bees out. So we did that. So just this little tiny area was our kitchen. But you know what happened? You all started coming up to help with the harvest. And because you were here, Gary ended up teaching in the evenings. We were sitting around doing VitaFlex. He was demonstrating Raindrop. We were laughing and having fun and eating together. No way possible in that little tiny kitchen. So he designed and built the rest of what you see, what we have here today. But you're the reason that we have this. So I am grateful for all of you for doing that, because it's very nice. And we have a great big kitchen, and I'm sure our caterers are very happy that they have a kitchen and an inside area to work in. So everything has just evolved. And one thing I wanted to ask Cody, I don't know where he is, if he's listening. You've heard me mention I would love if you would cut a piece of the corrugated steel out from down in the distillery so that people can see the old logs. Are you serious? Oh, he probably poured concrete on it. Darn. Well, I was with Gary when we walked out and back. Those trees back there, that's where we walked. And he picked out every single tree that he wanted for the distillery. And then he cut them down. And in the beginning, we had horses here. We had miniature donkeys, miniature goats, miniature horses. Gary just wasn't happy unless he had animals around him. And so he took the horses in the back and hooked on, and they skidded the trees out, pulled them out, and then he cut the bark off and he put them in tar, and about this much. And the tar prevented the logs from rotting, from going bad. And that's how it all began, and it was with those logs that he built the distillery. And there's lots of pictures in there, and you can see it. So if Cody couldn't find them down in the distillery, I'm very sad, because it was interesting to see. But little bit by little bit, it all came together. He was driving around on the other side of St. Mary's looking. He was always looking for things. And he saw an old boiler out in the field, and he needed a boiler for the distillery. So he came back and he said, Mary, come and go with me. I found an old boiler, and I want to see if the owner will sell it to me. Well, the owner said, hey, you give me $500 and I'll give it to you to haul it away. So we were happy, Gary was happy. We had to take it into Spokane and have new tubes put in it. But that was the first boiler. Well, we kept getting bigger and bigger and more plants. And so then it had to be replaced with a new boiler. You can see it all. It's all documented. The history's there. But I watched it all happen. I watched Gary out in the fields. Oh, he had this harebrained idea. He thought if we tied the lavender plants with string on the bottom, it would make it really easy to go through and cut them because they're so big and bushy. It was like 100 degrees. And we're out there. I was with the workers down on my hands and knees, wrapping string around the bottom of the lavender plants, tying them up. And you know what? It didn't work. All that time and misery and salaries that we paid was a loss. But he said, well, at least I know it didn't work. And he was happy with the experiment. But lots and lots of things like that happened. That's how he learned about what he was doing, what worked better. Many, many times I would see him sitting at the kitchen table. That same table is in the house. We kept the old furniture, but he would sit at that table and he would draw. He would design. He would analyze. And I'd say, Mary, come look at this. And he'd say, I think I want to do this and I want to do that. This is going to make this work better. And if I do this, this will work better. And so he changed things as he went. He was always analyzing, always looking, always saying, how can I make it better? What does that say to you? You ask yourself, how can I do it better? What can I say? What do people want to hear about what I'm doing? How can I get people interested? You try it one way and it doesn't work, so you try it another way. But you never stop trying. I never, ever saw Gary satisfied with the finished product that we thought was fantastic. When we finished, many of you went up to Highland Flats. I was standing next to him when we started distilling for the first time, and he was leaning back against the wall, watching the separator underneath. And he was deep in thought. And I said, what are you thinking, Gary? And he said, well, I'm analyzing how I can make it better. And I said, well, you just finished it. He said, yeah, I know, but I'm sure I can make it better. Just take that as an example and use it in your own lives. Always look to see how you can make it better. It was so exciting when the first oil drops came up in the separator. We'd be yelling and hollering, and everybody would come running. And as soon as you got there, everybody became very silent. It's like it was such a sacred, special moment. When the oil bubbled up, nobody wanted to say anything. And I think it's still that way. There's something, it's almost, I don't know how to say it. It's mystical. It's exciting. When you see those drops bubble up in the separator, it's like, yeah, it really works. Yeah, those are our oil. That's my oil. That's my favorite oil. And we have our special oils from our farms because of that desire to bring you the best. Everything about the farms is about making it the very best for you. Gary had a really funny idea up in Highland Flats when he started looking at the floral water coming out. And he said, you know, I bet I could put floral water in hot tubs. And everybody would love soaking in the floral water. Anybody here soaked in floral water? Yeah, it's pretty amazing, isn't it? So he built the hot tubs up in Highland Flats. And then he built them here in St. Mary's. And we had one hot tub that was right next to a separator cooker underneath. And then he built a whole bunch over in that other room. And then you complained that after you were in the hot tub and there was snow on the ground, you didn't like getting out in your bathing suit and running from down there up here in the snow. So they decided to bring the hot tubs up here so you don't have to run as far. But I hope you'll all come to the farms because it's really an exhilarating feeling to soak in hydrosol, in floral water. And it's a great story to tell. But it's like, what else can we do? How else can we make it fun? You know that big old white bus that was out there? Gary bought that at an auction in Grand Junction, Colorado for about $800. And he drove it here. He fixed it. Gary could fix anything. He was a brilliant mechanic. And he was the chauffeur. And he used to drive all of you around to see fun things in the area. Now we're too many. But in the old days, there were 10, 12, 15 of us. And we did a lot of outrageous things. We used to raft the St. Joe River, which is the river on the other side of St. Mary's. The day we said we can't do that anymore, there are too many of us and the river's too low, we're going to go to Spokane, I went, Oh, no. But Gary made it fun. Everybody had fun. And now you're going to have John Wetton, Ben Riley, Josh Kelshaw. You're going to have lots of fun men to throw water on you. So be prepared to throw it back, because they are vicious. But Gary always created laughter. There was always laughter. When the members would come, when you came to help us with the harvest in the summertime, we would sit right out here, right here. We had big tables and the big trees, and we'd eat, we'd sit around, and we'd sing, and we just had a grand time being together. You have the same opportunity. You can have the same experience. But you know what the secret is? You have to come here. You can't have the experience if you're not here. So you have choices. If you don't like the snow, you can come and be a part of summer harvest. If you love the snow and you don't like the heat, you can come up and be part of winter harvest. And then we have spring planting. We do all kinds of things. You can come up here and bring your teams. There's plenty of places to stay now. And enjoy, experience the farm and be part of it. I know we had a big group up here, 2 months ago? Sherry was here 2 months ago? And they had a fabulous time and helped do so much planting. Come and be a part of the farm. Gary's great joy was when you came to his farm, because he wanted to share with you what he created, because he was creating it for you. He wanted you to see what it was like to do all that hard work, and then to have the thrill of seeing the oil bubble up. It's been so exciting to see it evolve, and more people have come from all over the world. You are so important, because you are the ones who take the Young Living message to the world. We, here on the corporate side, Cody, Izzy, all those working here at the farm, John, who digitized all those old tapes, and now we benefit from the words that Gary spoke, because John took it upon himself to create a library of history for all of us. But we're on the inside. We're not on the outside. You're on the outside. And if you don't take the message, if you don't help people come and be a part of what we're doing, if you don't enroll people, if you don't talk, if you don't get excited, so many people are going to miss out. They're not going to have the fun that you're all having. And there's nothing more wonderful to me than being able to be with people I love and care about, and sit around and eat and drink and laugh, walk around and talk about the oils and the farm, have fun with all the farm employees. I hope some of you speak Spanish. It's a great opportunity. I get to practice, but I've spoken more German than I've spoken Spanish on this trip. But it's fun. We want it to be fun for everyone, because life is too short. And you want to find things that bring joy to your heart, that bring joy to your family, that's long-lasting, that your children can enjoy. And I love seeing all the children who are here. We love it when children can see what their parents are excited about. I remember the first time Jacob and Joseph started being the chauffeurs in the four-wheelers, we all went and held our breath. And they're both demons with their feet to the pedal. But everybody had a good time. Lots of laughter. Lots of fun. So come and enjoy what we have here as the farm, and know that you are such an important part of what we do here. There's no point in us distilling lavender if you don't share it with someone. There's no point in trying to keep the deer from eating the peppermint if you don't share the peppermint. You are the key to making it all work. We're the servants of the messengers. We're the servants and you're the messengers. We have a little bit of power, but it's such a thrill for me. I go back in thought, thinking about how much Gary loved having you come, how much you honor his dream, his vision of what could be that has become something very real to all of us. Everywhere you look, everywhere I look, I see Gary. I know he's here. Many people have said that to me. He loves the farm. His energy is here. It's not the same. But he said to me, Mary, I've given you all that you need. You can carry it forward, and I will help you from the other realm. And I didn't even know what he was talking about. That was so foreign to me, and I said, no, Gary, don't talk like that. But his body was broken. His body was so beat up. He was in so much pain. the terrible accident that he went through. And then he never rested. He never took care of himself. Oh, John and I were just reminiscing about a horrendous experience that we had with Gary down in the shop. And he was trying to get a piece of equipment started by pulling on the cord, and it wouldn't start. And as John said, it didn't have any gas in it, that's why. But Gary didn't check the gas tank or the fuel tank. And he pulled so hard that it broke and he smashed his hand. He broke all the bones in his fingers, his 4 fingers. And I walked into the little room down there, and he's got his hand underneath the sink with the blood going down the drain. And I'm looking at him going, oh, what now? So we hopped in the car and went down to emergency. He ended up going into surgery. They did a great job. I was sitting next to him when he came to from the recovery. And when the doctor walked in, he said, I'm ready to leave. Gary, you just got out of surgery. And he says, no, I have to get back to the farm. And he won. The doctor lost. So we drove back to the farm, and I started to drive up to the house. And he said, no, we need to go over to the shop. Okay. So we drove over to the shop. And this is where he was building the Melissa harvester. That's what was going on inside the shop. So he gets out of the car and he walks into the shop and he goes over and he looks at the equipment, and he walked a little further and he turned around and looked at me and he said, I think I better lie down. He was dizzy. So we brought him up to the house, and John was here. John witnessed the accident. I was on the other side of the shop, and I think it was Jacob who came running in to get me. And the next morning, Gary was up before the crack of dawn. And when John got down to the shop, Gary was already down there trying to weld. That's how important it was to him. That's how much he gave, but he never stopped. And I always take that as a great example. And I say to myself, if he can do it, if he has the mindset to do it with his broken body, I can certainly keep going until I finish the job. And when I get started on something, I don't like to stop until I finish. So I was probably a good partner for Gary, because I never got frustrated with him wanting to see it to the end. I always wanted to see it to the end, but he did a lot of scary things. So take that with you. See it to the end. Make it count. And come back to the farm and celebrate with us. Come back and feel that energy, and bring lots of people with you. It changes one's life forever. Jacob, I don't know. Jacob, where are you? Is my Jacob here?
Hiding.
Come here, please. Look at this handsome young man. I look at the pictures and I see my cute little Jacob, my little Joseph, and I go, they were so cute. And I think you need to tell them what it was like with Dad.
Oh man, I mean, you've already shared so many stories about Dad and everything here. I'll share one story, and that's...
I just have to say, they're calling Jacob Little Gary, Mini Gary in the office because he's so much like his dad.
Try to be. We used to have a lot of Melissa out here. My dad always used to say that Melissa, jokingly, lovingly, is the temperamental wife. It's a very, very difficult oil. And those that don't know about Melissa, it's very particular. You have to cut it at the right time, at the right day, at the right temperature, with the right blade, with the sun in the right spot, and it cannot touch the ground. You have to be very loving with it. Your energy has to be there when you cut the Melissa. Otherwise, you don't get the same yield or the same quality. It's fascinating. And so, the Melissa harvest was always such a fun harvest, but a difficult harvest, because everything had to be so precise. And we're already very precise with what we do here. So you can imagine just the difficulty that comes into it. Well, my job was making sure that all the grasshoppers would get off the Melissa. So it was my job, when I was much younger, to go around and shoot the grasshoppers away from the Melissa, and I would say, don't bother the pretty lady, go away. That was my job for a long time. And then making sure that I was at the front of the tractor. And then I felt bad after being told, you know, sometimes, Dad jokingly said, I don't think a lot of people realize that they get a little bit of bug with their oil. And I said, what do you mean by that? Well, not all grasshoppers make it out of the Melissa before it goes into the cooker. So then I was devastated by that. And my job had changed slightly, where I'd go to the front of the tractor and say, get out of the Melissa! You don't want to die! Get out! I feel like I saved a lot of grasshoppers that day. I'd like to think so, at least. But we have so much love and so much passion for all of you, because we know what difference that all of these products, amazing products, have made for you in your lives. They've definitely made an impact in my life, of course, in my wife's life. And I just think of all the times that we could have gone to Disneyland, but instead we were here cutting Melissa. And at the time, I can't say I loved it or enjoyed it, but now standing here in front of all of you today, I'm grateful for it because I get to share these stories and these moments with you and have those moments and memories with Mom and Dad and Joseph and all the other brand partners involved. So truly, thank you for everything that you do. Thank you for being part of this journey. We love you all.
Go and enjoy the rest of the time that you have. Go.
Thank you so much. Oh,
One more thing you were going to have.
Oh, Nikki Davis, where are you? Come here. I almost forgot you. Thank John that I didn't forget you. I know, I love you dearly. We're hooked together forever.
Yes, we are.
We love each other.
You do want to go run and play though, so I'll make this very short. First off, let's give a round of applause for this. I know you don't like Tintin or any of the fanfare, but when Jacob said they didn't go to Disneyland, I'm gonna get a little emotional right now. I remember one time I said to Mary years ago, Mary, when was the last time you took a family vacation? And she said, oh, we take plenty of them. To France, to the farm there, where we hold events, and I said, "Oh, Mary, just to have fun with your family." Well, this is my family, and it's just this family has given so much to every single one of us, and every single one of your teams back home, and just the amount of that gratitude oil thing, Mary, really works. But man, we owe so much to them, but again, they do it all for us. And it's just a joy to be on this farm because really where they live, care for people, care for planet, right? That's what drew me to this family at the very beginning and all of you, the character here. And we just got to plant those, the blue spruce to give back to the earth. Gary always said, you give back more than you take. And we distill oils and we give back and we give back and we give back because Mother Earth will keep producing and keep our quality of oils at the highest level that it can be because we care for the planet. Not just because it sounds cool or it's trendy, but because that's what we do. That's the character. That's the distilling at the exact right time. I mean, we care so much for the planet and for people. And thank you for our 6 very caring new sponsors who sponsored children yesterday. Thank you so much. We have a board at the Young Living Academy with each of their pictures on it, and when a child gets sponsored, they remove the picture and the kid will go and they'll notice when they get sponsored and they go back and look, I got sponsored. So thank you for bringing so much joy and making the day of those 6 children yesterday. Thank you so much. We have our booth still here, just behind, right over there. If you would like to sponsor a child, I'm sure they would love to run to the classroom and tell all their friends. And if you would like this t-shirt, I think we only have kind of large sizes because they went pretty quick. Or enter the raffle to get our big winnings. Anyway, just a joy to be with you all, and I just wanted to say thank you. From all of those kids and all of us at the foundation, thank you.
Josh,
right here, man, right here.
something else going on?
I think we do. I need your help right here. Yeah.
How can I help you?
We have a gift for all the people here.
Oh.
Best team and corporate staff. Because, again, like you said, we couldn't do this without you guys. It's because of all of your passion and your love for the oils. It's given me a job, and Nikki a job, and Mary a job.
You
You guys make it possible. So, this is Mary right here. I got you chewing on it.
You're always chewing on it.
I know. I can't. We'll tell them what is it.
Melissa.
Can you read that off there, Bob? Nikki, can you read
Sure
that
can.
off?
Melissa, 2025 Gold Retreat. You're very humble.
So take this home, put it on your shelf. Always remember your time here at the farm. I love you guys. We have one of these for each of you and your qualified guests. Now, what's awesome is we have a lot of extra guests, Mary. People just brought their family and their friends, and we didn't want to leave them out. So we also have non-branded regular Melissa for all of those extra guests too. So no one gets left out. Everybody gets a bottle to take home so that you can remember this amazing place. And if you want to come back, younglivingfarmtours.com. Go there, has all the information so you guys can come back up and experience this place with your team. Sound good? All right, stay where you're at, pull out your badges. The events team is going to come around to you and get you each one of your very own bottle of Melissa. And then once that's done, we're going to separate for the rest of the tours, so don't go anywhere.